All right, this is the answers to part 2 of our semester exam review. We want the domain and range. Remember, domain is just the x values, and the range is the y values. Pretty simple start here. All right, then we want to know if this is a function. So you look at your domain, 2 is going to 5. It doesn't go to anything else later on. -4 to 8, 3 to 0, 5 to 8. Everybody's behaving. It's okay that the 8 shows up twice. We just can't have the domain showing up twice. Yeah, that's a function. Each domain has one range. All right. Whereas here, 1 is going to 2, and then 1 shows up later going to 19. Can't have a domain going to 2 different ranges, so that's not a function. 1 is going to 2 ranges. All right. For function values, what we want to do is just plug this number in for x. So you want to go -5 times -1 plus 2. That's 5 plus 2, which is 7. Right? Or same thing here, put that in. -5 times -2 plus 2 is 10 plus 2, which is 12. Okay? This is asking, when does the function equal 42? So we want to set -5x plus 2 equal to 42. Subtract 2. And then divide by -5, and x equals -8. All right, same thing here. We're going to put this in there. We're going to go -5 squared plus 1. 25 plus 1 is 26. Put 9 in there. 9 squared plus 1. 81 plus 1 is 82. This is asking, when does this equal 101? And if we subtract 1, that's when x squared equals 100. So what times itself equals 100? 10 probably comes to mind. Technically, -10 also times itself would equal 100. So that technically has 2 answers. We aren't going to get too panicked about that right now. We'll talk later on about that. When you give a graph and you're asked for a function value, you go to that x value. So go to -3, find your graph. It's right there. And it looks like it's at a height of -6. Go to 0, find the graph, it's right there. It looks like it's at a height of -3, okay? And when does this graph equal -2? So it looks like it happens quite often. One time right there at about -6.5. Looks like it hits it right here at 1, and then a little bit later on right there at 5. So 3 different times we're at a height of -2. All right. Given the formula, you can find the first 3 terms of this. So for this one, this -6 is what we call the 0 term. It's what happens right before first term, and 3 is our pattern, okay? So if you kind of have -6 as your starter, and then here's first term, second term, third term, we're going to add 3 to that to get to -3, add 3 to that to get to 0, add 3 to that to get to 3. Those are our first 3 terms, okay? Here, this is telling us that 22 is the first term and that the pattern is -3. So if we -3 from that, we'll get 19. If we -3 from that, we'll get 16. Right? So this one's similar to the first one. 12 is our 0 term. Our pattern is -7. So if we subtract 7, we'll get 5. Subtract 7 from that, we'll get -2. Subtract 7 from that, we'll get -9. Can we write an explicit and recursive for this sequence here? Okay, our first term is -3, and we're going +7, +7. That's our pattern. So for the recursive, we get the structure in there. The pattern is +7, and the first term was -3. For the explicit, the pattern is +7, so 7 times n. And then we want that 0 term. So what would have been right before this? That would have been -10, so -10 there. Okay. And then this one says, if this is our sequence, what would be the 6th term? So you could put 6 in for n. 9 times 6 is 54, plus 13 is 67. If you put 10 in there, 9 times 10 is 90, plus 13 is 103. And now we want to know which term would be 31. So we could actually set it equal. Subtract 13. We get 18 equal 9n. Divide by 9. And that's the 2nd term. Or you could have just started working the terms out and see what you got. All right. System of equations, solving by graphing. What we want to do here is start at the y-intercept, do the slope. So if I start at 1 and go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. I get a line that looks something like that. I kind of want to do it the same slope but come backwards on that, just in case we need it that way. So these are always a good idea to put a lot of points down if you can, because one of these points will probably be your answer. Okay. For the other one, we're starting at -1 and going up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So you can see that going this way, they're getting further apart. So I need to come backwards, and that hits right there at -2, -3. All right, very good. For this one, I'm gonna add this x over and make it x plus 2. So I have one that starts at 4 and goes up 1 over 1, looks kind of like that. And I have another one that starts at 2 and goes up 1 over 1. Well, those are parallel. And because they're parallel, we'll have no solution on that. They do not intersect. For this one here, we're solving by substitution or elimination. Since we have x by itself, it's a good idea to do this by substitution. Just put that right in there. -y plus 11 plus 2y equals -4. If we put these together, we're going to get y plus 11 equals -4. And then if we subtract 11, we get y equal to -15. There's one of our answers. Now, if we put that in here, x is equal to the opposite of -15, which is +15 plus 11. That means x equals 26. If you were to do that as an ordered pair, it would look like that. For this one here, we don't have a variable by itself. We could add 2y over and do substitution, and that would work just fine. But I'm going to just go ahead and do the elimination. I'm going to multiply this by -3. So the top equation is going to stay the same. We won't do anything to that. And the bottom equation, we're going to multiply by that -3. Now when we add these together, these drop out. I get 13y equals -13. And if we divide by 13, we get y equal to -1. All right, now I'm going to put that -1 back in for y. So 3x, 7 times -1 is a -7. We add 7, 3x equals -9, and then divide by 3, and we get x equal to -3. So those are our two answers. Again, in order to pair x first and then y would look like that. All right, Hector owns twice as many video games as Frank. So Hector's amount, we'll use H for Hector. That's how many video games Hector owns, Hector's games, if you will. And we'll do F for Frank, Frank's games. All right. It says Hector owns twice as many as Frank. So Hector equals 2 times whatever Frank is. Okay. If you triple the amount of video games Hector has, so if I triple Hector 3 times H, and subtract the amount of video games Frank has, so minus F, you will get 80, equals 80. Okay, good. How many video games does each guy have? So we can do a little substitution real quick. Since H equals 2F, we're going to put 2F in for H. We're going to go 3 times 2F, which is 6F, minus F equals 80. That's 5F equals 80. Divide by 5, and we get Frank's video games as 16. And it said Hector had 2 times as many, so that means if you double that, Hector has 32. All right, not too bad. Wind it down here. Now we have a system of inequalities by graphing, so we'll start by doing the y-intercept, 7, and going down 2 and over 3, down 2 and over 3. It's not equal to, so we're going to do a dotted line through there. And it's greater than, so we'll shade above, but not very dark because not all of that's going to be our answer. Okay, we'll come here, we're going to go to -4, make a dot. Slope is 3, so up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. Also, it's dotted line through there. Okay, and it's less than, so we shade below. Now, once we get above this and below that, you see we have this little group right here that's got both shades in it. That's what we're going to darken in. That's our final answer. Not all of the shade, just the part where it overlapped. Okay, Now this asks, is 6, 4 a solution? So 6, 4 is inside of the shaded region, so we would say yes to that. And 6, 6 is also inside of that shaded region, so we would say yeah. Anything that was outside of the shaded region, we would say no to. So anything in here, here, or here would be a no, but if you're in that part, for sure, okay? And then I don't think this is on our test, but just in case it is, again, absolute value just means make it positive. So for -2, when you put that in the absolute value, it turns it into +2, times 3 would give us 6. -1 absolute value is 1, times 3 would be 3. 0 absolute value is 0, times 3 is still 0. The positives will stay positive, so there's nothing really happening there. And if you graph this, what you're going to see is that you're going to have a V-shaped graph happening. It's going to come down like this. Oops, sorry. It's going to come down like that, bounce, and then go right back up. That's what those look like. All right, study hard, and good luck on your exam.